Hello, creative iMedia students. Mr. Ballantyne here with another digital photography lesson. Peter, paper out, please. You'll need it to take a few notes this lesson, and I want you to start with these 8 keywords. I have removed the vowels from these photography keywords. My question to you is, what are the keywords, and can you give a short definition of each? Pause the video while you do that. Back in a second. How did you get on? Here are the answers. 8 really important keywords. If you don't know what they are, look back on your notes. If you don't have the notes, look them up on the internet. It's important that you know what these keywords are. Okay, moving on. I want to look back at the task that I set you last time on bottles. Thanks to everybody that sent in their pictures of bottles. I asked you to look at different ways of taking the photo, different angles, simplifying the background, moving in close, using the all-important rule of thirds where you can. Here are some of your photos. This student, incredibly creative in taking lots and lots of different pictures of the bottle in different situations. Particularly like that one top right there, down low. I had to look 2 or 3 times to see what it was, but I really like the texture and the colour of the background around it. I think that works nicely. And down at the bottom right there, they've absolutely nailed the rule of thirds, and the bottle sitting on the windowsill looking out. It's like a little person, isn't it, looking out over its own domain. And if you notice carefully, that pigeon is absolutely spot on the rule of thirds bisector line, so well done for that. Cute little character up at the top. It's that Little Big Planet, I think. It's one thing I say about that picture, taking it inside does make it difficult on the lighting. The lighting is not quite as sharp and clear as it is for the outdoor shots. If you compare it, for example, to this student's picture, the outside, just the lighting is absolutely fantastic, spot on that lighting. And this is a really, really nice picture. The background is composed really well. There's no clutter. It fills the screen, the frame. But one thing I would say, just to improve that even further, if I draw the rule of thirds lines on there, like that, the bottle's dead center, and I think this would improve even more if that bottle was just slightly to the left there. I think that would be a great photo. Same with this picture and this picture. What I like about these two is that the background is totally simplified. It's a really nice contrast in colours between the light blue and the dark blue. There's nothing else that's in our way that sort of distracts us from the focal point of the bottle. But I'll say one more thing again, just if I draw those rule of thirds lines, they're ever so slightly, like you can see them, the horizontal is great, but just moving that bottle to the left I think would improve a little bit further. This one here, an example of a slightly busy background, but I like the staging of it. And I think this one here is a busy background, but as you'll see as I come to later, if it was a black and white, it would actually simplify that background, and I think it might be a better picture. I do like the way that it's set up on that brick wall there. Okay, so thanks to those, just some of them that were sent in. Thanks very much. You must practice. Really important that you practice your photography. The more you practice, the better you will get. Okay, piece of paper, some more composition techniques. I've got 4 or 5 for you today that I want you to try out. First is called leading lines. Look at this picture here, a very famous photographer called Henri Cartier-Bresson from about 100 years ago. What's the focal point? Where is our eye drawn to? And how is our eye drawn there? It is, of course, the head of the guy, but if you look carefully, look at how your eye is drawn to it. The lines around the trees and the road really bring our eyes towards that focal point. And this is a technique called leading lines. Have a look at these others. Isn't this a terrific photo? Really, really clear focal point of the girls playing with these drawers in a museum or wherever it might be. Look at how our eye is drawn towards them through these incredible lines on this lovely texture. Really, really helped as well by the fact that this is all blurred out there. I think that is a fantastic photo. It works really, really nicely. Same with this one as well, a busier background, but if you look carefully here, the focal point is probably the guy taking the picture of the woman, but our eye is drawn along these lovely lines into it. So we really sort of like reached into that picture. That's nice. Isn't this a great picture? Really, really nice example of leading lines and angles as well. So we've got this focal point that comes in, so lines that come in to our focal point of the people. But look carefully, and what you can see is that this photo has real symmetry to it as well. If I draw a line down there, I've got perfect balance on this side and on that side, even down to the lampposts. That's a really, really nice example of leading lines and symmetry, which is our next composition rule, symmetry and repetition. Although not dead symmetrical this, there is definitely a balance to this photo. The clouds balancing the buildings on the right. And symmetry can be quite powerful in photos. Have a look at this one here. This is a great photo, nice example of just an everyday object that becomes sort of like a really visually appealing photograph. We've got this dead balance between of the lamppost bisecting the two windows with the bike helping in there as well. And also a little bit of rule of thirds going on too. You notice the rule of thirds there? So the bike and the windows along those rule of thirds lines. Okay, next one is framing. Have a look at these pictures here. Now, I'm not talking about picture frames that are on your wall, but I'm talking about using a physical frame in your photo to almost create another photo. There's some really, really nice examples here. It can be just as straightforward as the top right, with a window opening out onto a scene, or a natural frame such as a bridge or an archway. And I particularly like this one down here, this one bottom left, because we've got this silhouette of the people in the bridge. We've got rule of thirds going on because, you know, those guys at their focal point is in the rule of thirds, but also we've got these leading lines of the bridge that draw our attention in towards those people there. So that's a great photo. Framing is that technique. It doesn't have to be a window or a bridge. Here's an example of I think it's a croquet post, but it gives that extra framing there for the photo. And this goes back to what I was saying about black and white. If this was a colour photo, I think it would probably be too busy. But the fact that it's black and white helps to simplify the background and makes it a good photo using framing as a technique. Okay, third one today is patterns and colours. What is this picture of? Did you spot it straight away? It's, of course, seats in an empty stadium, but it just has that amazing texture to it. It looks like fish scales. I think it's a great picture, this, and it's also got symmetry to it as well, as the sort of leading line sweeps down there, cutting off the two in a bit of a rule of thirds type way. If you notice where that sweep starts here, that is on the rule of thirds line that comes down and meets the other one. So a nice photo there of patterns. Have a look at these other examples of patterns. Again, everyday object down on the beach. But by closely filling the frame and zooming in, we've got this really nice repetition of patterns that's on there. Same on this one. And again, this is an everyday object. I think the black and white really helps to create a mood here. But the roofs and the fact that they sort of slope downwards as well, you know, they get lower with every roof. But there's nothing else in the picture to distract us. Gives a really, really nice picture. Okay, so here are the composition rules that I want you to try out. It's going to be today and also the next lesson. I'll set them for both. Leading lines, symmetry, patterns, framing, paying close attention to filling the photo, yeah, like the ones that I've looked at today. And it may be that actually what you can do if you've got Lego men hanging around, that you could take them out and put them in the garden and sort of take some nice close-ups using some of the techniques that I've talked about. Here is your task. So capture images that demonstrate different compositional techniques, leading lines, symmetry, patterns, framing, and filling the photos. I'd like you all to do at least 3, but I hope that most of you will do 4 and some 5, and then submit them to me. Okay, as an extra bonus, here's what I'd like to show you. I'll put a link to this in class charts. This is a great mini series. It's like a reality TV show for photographers. 6 photographers come to New York and get sent on a series of different photo shoots, and then they are judged and one is voted off each episode. I think you'll really, really like it. I'll put a link to that in class charts if you have time to watch it. Okay, happy snapping. Remember, the more photos you take, the better photographer you are going to be, and just snap away to your heart's content. Don't just take 1, take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and choose what the best one is. Okay, I will see you next time.